Okay, so today we're going to break down a really cool process, one that takes a huge global problem and flips it on its head to create a powerful climate solution. Let's get right into it.
So, it all kicks off with this massive number, 1.5 billion. That's the number of hectares of degraded, semi-desert land we have on Earth. We're talking about land that's pretty much useless for farming or anything else productive. It's basically been written off. But here's the big idea, the question that changes everything. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if all that barren land isn't a liability? What if it's actually the key to creating clean energy and pulling carbon right out of the sky? And that brings us to the very first step in making this happen. It all starts with revitalizing that exact land, bringing it back to life. So how do you do it? Well, the process starts by actively healing the land. Using a pretty clever patented soil injection technology, they plant special woody biomass crops that are designed to recultivate these depleted soils. You're basically jump-starting a dead ecosystem. And get this first step is already paying off big time. For one, it generates a carbon credit, a tradable permit for removing CO2 from the atmosphere. The wood that grows can then be used for things like carbon-negative building materials or even furniture, locking that carbon away. But the most important output here is the biomass itself. Right. That biomass isn't the final product. No! It becomes the fuel for the next stage of the whole operation. Nothing is wasted, and this is where the whole cycle really starts to pick up speed. So, in step 2, we take all that biomass we just harvested and use it to generate carbon-negative energy. That biomass gets fed into a power plant, which then starts producing carbon-negative electricity. And here's a really crucial detail. The energy that's produced stays entirely with the owner of the operation. This means they have total energy independence. They don't need to rely on an external grid at all. The outputs from this stage are just as great. You get another carbon credit. You get the carbon-negative green electricity we just talked about. And you also get this amazing co-product called biochar. Think of it as a super stable form of charcoal that you can put back into the soil to make it even healthier and lock away carbon for literally centuries. Now, this is where the whole model shows how flexible it is. You could use that green electricity to power the entire operation, making the whole thing carbon neutral. But as this quote from our source material points out, there's an even more powerful alternative, using that electricity to produce green hydrogen. And that leads us to the final and maybe the most impactful step in this whole value chain, creating a truly versatile green fuel. In this final stage, the carbon-negative electricity from the biomass plant is used to power electrolysis. That's just a fancy way of saying it splits water to create green hydrogen. This stuff is a huge deal for decarbonizing heavy industries like shipping and steel, the sectors that are really, really hard to clean up. And the value just keeps cascading. This final step gives you guessed it, one more carbon credit. You get the green hydrogen itself, of course, and you also get other valuable products like green ammonia and green fertilizer. These can be sold on their own or even used as the building blocks for other synthetic fuels. So when you step back and you look at all three of these stages together, you realize it's not just a straight line. It's a completely integrated, self-reinforcing, virtuous cycle. Looking at the whole picture, you can really see how genius the design is. You revitalize degraded land, which creates biomass. That biomass creates carbon-negative power, and that power creates high-value green fuel. Each step enables the next, turning a massive land problem into a whole chain of solutions. Let's just stop for a second and be super clear on what carbon-negative means here, because it's the absolute core benefit. It means the entire operation, from planting to producing fuel, removes more CO2 from the atmosphere than it puts in. It's not just neutral, it's actively cleaning the air. And from a practical point of view, this is just brilliant. The system is designed to be economically sustainable by generating valuable carbon credits at every single stage. The revitalization, the power generation, and the hydrogenation, it creates a constant financial incentive that keeps the whole cycle going. So what this model really does is take depleted land, a problem on an immense scale, and systematically transforms it into a source of value, clean energy, and negative emissions. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could this kind of thinking, turning our biggest liabilities into our greatest assets, be the blueprint for the future of green energy?